Well, that was not very good. Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2, a performance that really was one of the worst of the season, if I'm completely honest with you. We're going to get into it. There were some good moments that I want to talk about as well. Before we get into that, though, if I could just ask you to subscribe, as I always do. If you're not subscribed already, we're on the way to 16,000 subscribers. The support is unbelievable. Better than the support the Emirates tonight, by the way. And if you could like the video as well, get it to more people, I would be incredibly grateful. But look, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the goals. On each of the goals, I actually think there's some interesting pointers. Now, the first goal, I like it. I like it. Not just the header itself. The header itself from Jakub Kiwior is exquisite. But we lined up much like a corner. Obviously, we had that free kick from deep, but we all lined up in this kind of formation behind the Palace defenders. And when you do that, it's so difficult as a defender to know what is going on over your shoulder. And then we start flooding forwards in unison, right? And again, you can see the Palace players here. Lerma's looking over his shoulder going, play. How many of them are there as we move forwards? And what we then do, and this is what I like, is you can see here, we've kind of split the Palace defenders into two groups. And the back group of ours are acting as blockers. And then Kiwior goes fully to the front post. And he actually wins the header completely unmarked. I think it's a really good routine that a lot of people may just look at and go, well, we've just knocked the ball in, Kiwior's won the header. But there is a lot that's gone into that to make it work. But ultimately, for it to fully work, it's relying on the Jakub Kiwior header. And just to touch on Kiwior, I would argue the one part of his game that I think I'd mentioned previously that he didn't have compared to Gabriel was being an aerial threat. You know, Big Gabby has been such a threat from corners and set pieces for us. If Jakub Kiwior can add that to his game as well, he's genuinely giving himself a chance of, I would say, replacing Gabby. I think that's maybe too far, but certainly when you're looking into the summer and him potentially moving on, I mean, the fee is going up and up and up. And I thought he was one of the only players today that could really walk away from the game with his head held high. But unfortunately, our lead did not last for long. There's that header again. I mean, the power he generates on it, by the way. What's his name in the goal? Dean Henderson gets absolutely nowhere near it. And the header's from what? In line with the penalty spot? Nah, so good. Anyway, the Palace goal, the first goal. First of all, brilliant strike from Eze. Do not want to take away from the fact that it is a fantastic finish from Eze. Yes, it doesn't come cleanly off his foot. I think Walcott said in the punditry, like, oh, he's not really connected with it well. He's guided it in. From an Arsenal perspective, it always frustrates me when there is someone on the edge of the box with that much space. I feel like all of our players are in our box. You can spare someone. You can spare someone to go, and even if they're not stood right on Eze's toes, they can be close enough that they can stop an opportunity like that. And then the second issue I have, and again, like, it's a great goal, and I'm being a little bit nitpicky, but the second issue I have, and this is really just a pet peeve of mine, is Trossard and Raheem Sterling here. Look at the two of them. They're the two in front of this shot. And maybe they don't block it either way. But jumping, turning, pirouetting out of the way of it, you're a grown man. It's a bag of air. Just stand in front of it. Make yourself as big as you can, obviously without using your arms, and look at the ball so that you can try and move in front of it. It's a pet peeve of mine when, you know, professional grown men don't want to take a ball to the face like that. And that annoyed me. But ultimately, good goal. But with all goals, there are ways that you can prevent them. Moving on, our second goal. Now, this one was interesting for me. Jurriën Timber. I have said previously, I prefer Ben White in attacking situations. I think Ben White offers more in attack. But one thing Jurriën Timber has the ability to do is this sudden increase in tempo. You know, we've been knocking the ball around side to side, not doing too much. In this position, you'd expect him just on the right-hand side of the picture. You can see there Raheem Sterling down at the bottom. You'd expect him to roll it out to Sterling. But he goes, nah, do you know what? We'll just go for it. And he blitzes past Eze, which was good. An injection of pace. And then he just fires it into Leandro Trossard here. And suddenly, you've created this great opportunity where Trossard gets the ball here, and ultimately he ends up scoring, as we know. But he's then got two players beyond him where you've got a bit of an overload and you've got a chance. And that's what you need. You need those moments where someone just takes it on and goes, fuck it, we'll go for it. And to be honest, I think part of it was that Timber was just fed up of playing the ball to Raheem Sterling. And we'll talk about Raheem Sterling a bit later in the video. But ultimately, he's gone, I can't be asked to pass to you anymore, to be honest. And he's gone for it himself. And then the touch from Trossard, brilliant first touch. The way he traps it. People were describing this as a Diogo Jota goal. I just think it's a Trossard goal. It's a great touch. Gets a bit fortunate with the finish, I think, but we need him in form. We don't know what's going on with Mikel Merino, who wasn't in the squad tonight. And fingers crossed he is available against PSG. But either way, it's quite likely that Trossard's going to play up front in that game. I think that's 4 goals in his last 4 Premier League starts. And so that is very good. And then at 2-1 up, professionally, we should see the job out, but we don't. 82nd minute. I mean, I don't think you even need me to analyse this. It's an absolute car crash. First of all, I don't know what Martin Ødegaard is doing at centre-back. And I don't know if it's to do with the pressure that's on him at the moment, where there's been criticism, but he doesn't need to be dropping that deep to get the ball. Ultimately, it's on Saliba. Anyone that's trying to really hang blame on anyone other than Saliba here is trying to protect Saliba. He loses concentration. He gets the ball off Ødegaard the first time. He doesn't look back properly, and he gives it to Mateta. And then it's an unbelievable finish. I've seen people blaming David Raya for his positioning. David Raya stood where he's meant to be. David Raya is an outlet. He is not expecting William Saliba to pass the ball to Mateta there. So it is Mateta's fault. Not Mateta, Saliba's fault. There's no getting away from that. And that is 2 mistakes in his last 3 games. Obviously, he was at fault for that goal against Madrid. Excuse me. Which wasn't particularly good. So, yeah, something that he needs to just sharpen up on a little bit. We can do without those mistakes. And ultimately, it's cost us 3 points. It has cost us 3 points. And then beyond that, there was one more thing. Head down Martinelli does my head in. Head down Martinelli is an issue that we have had... Oh, wrong way. For a long time. Head down Martinelli. It's his biggest flaw. It's his biggest flaw. And this was in like the 91st minute, right? Saka is there. If he gets his head up, it's a simple ball across to Saka. It's a tap-in. That's the reality here. And like I said, Martinelli's inability to get his head up in certain situations has been a flaw for several years. And it's something that I don't think he's particularly improved upon. In the end, he drives towards goal and takes a shot into the near post side netting. It's not great. And that was an opportunity to win the game at the end. Palace did have their own opportunities to win at the end. And that's what we'll talk about next. I mean, you look at the stats here. It's probably easier if I bring them up on here, to be honest. You look at these stats, actually, it makes absolutely no difference, does it? 1.75 XG Palace created. I believe the only game this season where we've conceded more XG than that was away against Man City, when we were down to 10 men, backs against the wall. We conceded a lot tonight. 15 shots in total, 4 big chances. That is uncharacteristically poor. And when you consider it's the starting back 4, the starting midfield most likely going into the PSG game, that's a bit of a concern. And when you look at your similarities, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing bloody Crystal Palace to PSG here, but similarities in terms of the attacking fullbacks that PSG have, the technical midfielder that can break you open. They've got Wharton in there. It's a little bit of a concern. And look, I am confidently putting tonight's performance down to the focus is on next week, right? I get it. It feels like in the Premier League, we've just been sat in second. We're not moving up. We're not moving down. But there is an element of professionalism, which I expect of the team. And we didn't hit that tonight. And I don't know what exactly to put some of it down to. David Raya, remarkably shaky. If we go into the lineup, Raya, one of his poorest performances this season. There were a number of examples. The Munoz header across just goes straight through his hands. Something that he's normally so confident in. Just a bit strange. Timber, I didn't think was particularly at fault for anything. Obviously, Saliba had his big issue. And ultimately, it's easy when you concede that many chances. It's easy to look at just the defense and say, well, where did it go wrong with the defense? It all starts, in my opinion, in attack, though. And I have to say, Raheem Sterling. I don't know why he started. This is the biggest thing for me, and there is a tiny little concern, and I don't want to make a big deal out of it. There's a tiny little concern about Nwaneri's celebration in the game against Ipswich was a very muted celebration. And then he doesn't start tonight in what just appeared to be the perfect opportunity for him to start. Remember, he started against Crystal Palace earlier in the season, away in the league game against them. And it baffled me. Raheem Sterling has been awful, and he doesn't care. It's not like he's been trying and he's warranted himself this opportunity. He is really, really, really poor, and he's moving back to Chelsea in 4 weeks. Nwaneri is our future. And tonight, no one wanted to pass him the ball, because you pass him the ball, 9 times out of 10 he loses it, and then you've got to deal with the threat in transition. And that's what I'm talking about. When we conceded more chances, it all starts up there. He's terrible in the press, so we're not pressing teams in the way that we normally would. It was just, and the 50-50s, I mean, there was the one, was it Guehi, the one he went into where he just blatantly pulled out of it. Like I said, closing down that Eze shot for their goal. It's just, it made no sense to me. Outside of that, like I said, Kiwior for me was the man of the match, for us at least. Timber I thought was good. Lewis Skelly was decent. Rice, fine. Partey, fine, to be fair. Ødegaard has really split opinion on the internet this evening. Some people absolutely hounding him for tonight's performance. Some people saying they thought he had another really good performance off the back of a good performance against Ipswich Town. I'm undecided, because there were moments where I'm going, he's just not doing what he used to do. But there were moments where he looks good and he's controlling the game and he's creating chances. We very, very nearly scored, or we did score. Martinelli had the ball in the back of the net. It was ruled out because it fractionally went out for a goal kick. But that all came from Martin Ødegaard. There was another opportunity. Lovely little dip and turn from Ødegaard. Then he fed it out to Martinelli. Martinelli put the ball in. Saka forced a good save from Henderson. So it wasn't all bad. And that's where the internet is the internet, right? Where everything has to be one extreme or the other. And a lot of people now are just almost actively watching Martinelli to hate on him and to pull apart every performance. But yeah, there were things he did well tonight, but there are still things where I feel like he's not at the level that we've seen from him previously. And I continue to say, I don't think we'll see those levels until next season once he's had a big summer break. But look, ultimately, where that leaves us in the table is a little bit concerning. We're 6 points ahead of Man City. We are 7 ahead of Forest, but they've got a game in hand. We're 8 ahead of Newcastle, but they've got a game in hand. So they can get to within 4 and 5 points if they win those games in hand. And Chelsea could get to within 7 if they win theirs. And on the face of it, that's not awful. But I do start looking at our fixtures that are coming up, and they concern me a bit. We've got Bournemouth at home at the weekend. Bournemouth are a tricky team either way, and off the back of a big game against PSG. Then we have PSG away, followed immediately by Anfield, where Liverpool will have won the league. And will be playing for fun. Week off before Newcastle United at home. Another tough game where they're fighting for the Champions League spots. And then we've got Southampton away, which we should win. But by that point, I think we'll be all right. I do think we'll be all right in the league. Mainly, to be honest, because of the fact that Chelsea play Newcastle and Chelsea play Forest. Villa, if Villa drop any more points, they can't catch us. And we've got the goal difference advantage. So it should be fine, but it's a bit unnecessary, isn't it? We just didn't really need to put ourselves in this position. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All we can do now is hope that a far, far better performance is put in next Tuesday. That's the big one. There's going to be plenty of content about that game in the build-up to it. Also, we're going to be talking about some transfer news, the Thomas Partey news that came out today. We'll talk about that in a video tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed for that one. And once again, if you could click the like button before you jump off, if you've enjoyed the video. And other than that, have a fantastic evening, fantastic rest of your week. And I will catch you all on tomorrow's video. Goodbye.